What's up, everybody? Venom here with a quick review on Dave the Diver. Let's get right into it. Now, I have made a lot of content on Dave the Diver, and that's simply because I had questions that I could not Google answers to because they didn't exist. And when I started playing this game, there were a lot of confusing aspects that made me question, okay, how do I do this? Or how do I get this done? And because of the questions that I had that didn't seem to have any form of answers, and me being a guide writer full-time as my actual job, I wanted to be the one to write these guides because I felt like it was the best way to not only answer my own questions, but to help anybody who might have the same questions that I did. With that said, I have created a lot of content on Dave the Diver. If you have not watched it yet, I definitely recommend it if you are just starting or if you are thinking about starting and want to kind of get an idea of what to expect from the game. I will warn you that if you are a lore person or if you enjoy the playthrough and you don't want any form of spoilers, then I do not recommend watching my videos because they do contain spoiler content. For this review, I am going to do my best to refrain from leaking any form of spoiler content or large-scale content that I believe would ruin the entirety of the game or ruin a majority of the game, because I would like this to be utilized as not only a review for people who have played the game, but for people that are thinking about purchasing the game as well. With that said, starting out, I want to cover what I love about this game, and then I will go into what I like and what I wasn't so fond of. Now, everything that I say is going to be an opinion, not a fact, an opinion, unless I'm referring to something specific that happens in the game. I just want to start by prefacing that. So the first thing that I thoroughly love about this game is its deep storytelling. There are so many aspects that come together to make it a deep and cohesive story that some other games do tend to lack. I've played a lot of games and I've played a lot of storylines. This one has a very deep and meaningful story that I think is a lot of fun to follow along with. And even though you kind of feel like you're being bounced around a lot with the sushi restaurant and the fishing and the sea people, I think that for the most part, everything comes together very well and everything just blends together seamlessly in the end for a great ending as well. With that said, I also love the gameplay. Obviously, I've played hours upon hours of this game and I just cannot seem to get enough of Dave the Diver. I could sit here and play this game for hours on end. I could do the quests. Even after I finished the game, I still wanted to log on, catch the new fish that I haven't found yet. It was almost like filling out your Pokédex. You just wanted to catch all the fish that you could to fill out that little fish dex, as I was calling it. But that is what drew me into this game and wanting to continue to play it, was that I could not get enough of it. And I am the kind of person that gets very bored of a game very quickly, and this did not give me that feeling at all throughout my entire playthrough, throughout making all of my guides. I never got sick of this game. It has this playability factor that some games that I have, played have lacked, where it's so much fun to start and then you just run out of stuff to do and you don't know where to go next and it's confusing. This game does not provide a confusing factor in terms of what to do next. I'm going to say that very specifically. It is not confusing to know where to go next because the quests are laid out very nicely and it just all fits together. And like, okay, so I just did this. What could be next? Okay, oh wow, this is the next quest. Let me go get that done and see what comes next. But you're never asking yourself, wait, where do I get the next quest? Or how do I get the next quest? Do I have to do something first? There is never a time where you have to question where to go to get the next quest or where to go to do a side quest realistically, because everything is kind of just put together in one place and it just kind of finds you. You don't have to go find those quests. And I'm gonna move on to the third thing that I love about this game, and that is simply just the aesthetic. I am not a pixel graphics kind of gal. I don't enjoy pixelated graphics unless it's like an older game that I've played for a long time, such as Stardew Valley, Core Keeper, games like that I've played and that I thoroughly enjoy just playing and have been a part of for quite some time. Those are the kind of pixelated graphics that I like. But this is done so well. The art in this game is done so well to immerse you. You feel like you're under this deep blue ocean with all these crazy, fish that are attacking you and chasing you. You are immersed from the moment you dive into the water until you panic to get out of the water when you are close to having no oxygen. They do such a phenomenal job with the ambiance, with the music changing in different areas, with the art style, and just making it seamless to where you're not like, oh, that looks so pixelated, that looks like crap. You don't feel that way. You feel immersed from the moment that you start playing the game and you're on the plane, to this crazy island from the end game where you are in these new areas and you're seeing these new things. Everything is just beautiful to look at. And honestly, from a person that does not like pixel graphics, this is easily one of my favorite games that contains pixel graphics. Now let's move on to the things that I just kind of liked, right? I didn't love them. They weren't my favorite thing ever in a game, but things that I just liked. I liked the sushi restaurant. I'm not like a restaurant sim kind of person. I'm not a cooking sim kind of gal either. But I actually enjoyed having to go to the restaurant every night. It wasn't like you could skip it, right? You didn't have to do it. But it was a big part of the game. And I think that I actually enjoyed it, which I didn't think that I would when I first started. I thought it was going to get tedious and it was going to be too much. It never became too much to handle. They did a very good job balancing the tasks. They did a very good job balancing the staff. And I think it was just very well put together to add in this other dynamic of a sushi restaurant and, giving you purpose, why you're catching these fish. I think that it was blended very well, and it was one of the aspects that I really liked. Next thing that I liked and wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is mind-blowing, but one thing that I really liked was just the story. I think it told a beautiful story, and it told several different stories. Again, I'm not going to give everything away, but I will say there's moments where you want to laugh, there's moments where you want to cry. The cutscenes are legendary. They're very silly. Some of them are out of the water silly, and some of them are like very interesting and bright colors, and they keep your attention. But I honestly, the story was just good, and there are multiple stories. There's not just one, and there's not just two. There are multiple stories for you to follow, and again, it doesn't feel like everything's all cattywampus and crazy either, because I've had games where there's like 6 stories being told, and I have no idea what's going on, and I'm just kind of like playing the game, trying to figure out what the story means. I never got a sensation that I didn't understand what was happening while I was playing through the different stories. Everything just tied together. And so one of the things that I really, really liked was the stories and how they all just tie together to make one cohesive story while still remaining as separate entities. With that said, there is a few things that I didn't like about this game, and I'm going to be very, very brutally honest about them. I don't think that there's many things that I didn't like, but I will be honest about the things that I didn't particularly care for while I played through this game. With that said, one of the things that I disliked was the constantly adding to Dave's plate. I think that there was a lot of, okay, now you finally have someone to help you do this, but now you got to go do this. Okay, but now you also have to go and do this every day. I think that adding a lot to his plate, yes, it creates replayability, right? Which is what we want in a game like this. We want more content because we want to enjoy more content, right? We want to be able to get through the main content and then have stuff to do afterwards. I do understand that, but I think throwing it all together not very quickly, but quite rapidly, I definitely think threw me off a little bit when I first started playing. I was like, wow, this is a lot. And sooner or later, you kind of get over that feeling. You get used to it. You find a routine. But initially, it was a bit of a turnoff to me. I think it grew on me. I think it grew on me more so because I love this game and it was just easy for me to fall in love with every aspect. But it definitely, for the beginning, at least for me, I was like, wow, this is a lot to manage. But with that said, that was one of the things that I didn't like. And there was only one more thing that I didn't like, and that was simply the lack of information on certain features and aspects of the game. There are some things that are just not very well explained, and I'm going to give an example that might be considered a spoiler, but I don't really think so because it's introduced pretty much right in the beginning. But auto supply being a big example of something that just was not thoroughly explained as some of the other important features. I think that there should have been some form of tutorial for it, not just one sentence that says, hey, this is auto supply and it's important. But it never goes into detail as to what it does. I think that there are certain mechanics, and it's not the only one. Auto supply is not the only one that had this issue for me. I think it was several mechanics that could have been explained better, several features that could have been explained a little bit better. I know that these are easily fixable things, right? This isn't a huge, oh no moment for me, but I definitely believe that there were certain aspects that caused a lot of confusion among players just because they weren't explained, there wasn't a tutorial for them, and I think for me personally, it wasn't anything crazy because I write guides. That's what I do, so I like to deep dive into what could this be? What does this mean? But I think for somebody that's just coming in and not understanding like what auto supply is and then also not getting a tutorial for it, I think that could be a turnoff to some players. It wasn't for me, but it definitely could be for others, and I think that that's something that definitely could be improved upon in the future, is just explaining things a little bit better, adding maybe a couple more seconds of a tutorial or an explanation of a feature or mechanic. And again, this is something that's very small, but that was personally one of my biggest quarrels with this game. And that's gonna do it for this review. I know it wasn't extremely in-depth, but it was much longer than some of my other videos. That's because I do like to be thorough with my reviews. I don't want you to think that this is the best game since sliced bread, but I also don't want you to think that this is a bad game, because it's just not. My personal rating, my Venxmous rating, is going to be an 8.5 out of 10 for the playability, replayability, worth. I think this is absolutely worth the price you pay, and I think that there is a lot of content for somebody to enjoy. I thoroughly enjoyed it, so my personal opinion and my Venxmous rating is going to be an 8.5 out of 10 for Dave the Diver. And if you like the video, then like the video. And if you like my content in general, then please subscribe to my channel. It means the absolute world to me. I know that this was a bit longer than some of my other content that I post on this game or on any other game, but I wanted to just give enough information for if you're on the fence about buying it, or if you've bought it and you really aren't sure whether or not you want to refund it or you want to play it at all. That's what this is here for, and I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Bye!